turn the keys, the fingertips that reach out to touch them, the string that begs to be bent? Or is it in the notes on a page, a foot to a pedal, the infinite space between imagination and skill? Or is it simply music?
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the 13th Note podcast, Art of Mastery. I am your host, Jeff Spike Wong. Thank you for tuning in. And if you've been following this podcast, you know that this was inspired by our movie, film, The 13th Note, which is, it started off, of course, was inspiration to show artists across around the world and how they become masters of their instruments and their expression of self through their art. Of course, as we went further along and started developing the 13th Note, it became even bigger. Ultimately, we decided to keep on education and share finer points of refinement, of mastery. And of course, to prepare for this, searching across the boards for different unique opinions and special guests to come in is very selective in our process. And it's just something overall that I wanted to bring to the world, a insight that is not found normally in just your typical school, any kind of program that offers maybe business counsel or business advice and those type of things. You know, we wanted to go a little deeper for the psyche, deeper in regards to personality and deeper in sense of self, because they truly recognize that the greatness of success, refinement, and mastery requires the understanding and a trust within self. And that ultimately led to me to develop this particular episode, which is the mastery of focus. And I will say that from all the students I've had throughout the years, the ones that actually excelled in their particular direction with their goals in mind and so forth was, number one, the attentiveness to their focus on how they approach their strategy. So I hope today that I am able to point out and share some key points that would help you, and that will hopefully become part of your better habits, because ultimately the habits are part of the success that we all experience, because these are things that has grown and become part of us. The aspect of success being the part of us is deep, because it really then truly resonates in fulfillment to ourselves. Have you ever done something that you felt at the end of the task that it wasn't what it was? It just didn't fulfill any kind of satisfaction or any kind of void that you were searching for. So with that, I decide to really concentrate on helping everyone to reach their ultimate goal, their ultimate end result. And number one key is, are you ready for it? So if you have any questions in regards to art of refinement, you can go to my website, www.the365methods.com. I have the book I've written, which is a system that to help you develop your inner self in mastery and refinement. Not only that, I do some videos that supplements along with a worksheet for you. And if you decide that that is the road you like to be on, I offer one-on-one coaching. And the idea of coaching is it's just the label that we all use, but I go much deeper than that. I become not only your coach, but your strategist. I am your bouncing soundboard to be able to get feedbacks from. I have no bias opinion. I only have the opinion that serves you. And that to me is one of the best things I've ever learned as an instructor for over 35 years. Now, I also taken many lessons in courses, in seminars, classes, and I've had great instructors as well. So I borrowed a little bit of from here, a little bit of from there, and I put those things together to be able to refine and bring a much more robust program to all of you to be able to help you to reach your goal in a shorter amount of time. Because to me, a lot of things that did not work is because the lack of preparation, the lack of understanding of the path itself, and lastly, the lack of vision that shows you what your goal and results that you're searching for. In other words, that you didn't really have the end results clearly mapped out. So it's really hard for your mind to be able to reach that destination. Just imagine if we took a road trip, and even though we have the GPS, which will route you any way you want to go, if you don't know where you're going, ultimately you're not going to be successful, at least not the success you are reaching for. So with that, before I start, I want to thank, of course, everybody who tuned in on the Conversations of the Fringe, on the Fringe podcast on redpills.tv. I am fortunate that I took over that podcast and was offered a fantastic platform to talk about things that we considered maybe conspiracy, or maybe just esoteric, mystic, or anything of that nature. So there is no limit in that podcast. So I invite everybody to see that. Conversations on the Fringe on redpills.tv. All right, so now back to focus. Yeah, it's about focus, the mastery of focus. And let's start with this. One of the things that I've learned at a very early age is that if you want something and it comes easily, then you have to make a decision. Is this something coming easily because you like it? Or is this something easy because you want it? Or is it just natural God-given talent that it's easy, so therefore it becomes? And what I've learned from a lot of people's testimonials when they're talents in able to do certain tasks at ease is that they tend to not work hard to refine it. So therefore, it just kind of erodes and disappears eventually, or it stays at the same level. And that's okay if that's the complacency that you feel comfortable with, or if that's ultimately that's enough interest and intent that you want to put into. So it's a choice. One of the key factors of mastering your focus is, number one, your intention of choice. Now, let me break that even deeper and wider. For instance, if you always wanted to play the piano and you decide to focus and put your intentions into making that goal, that dream realized. So what would be the first thing? You would have to go get an instrument. It may not be the piano right away. It could be some kind of keyboard or something that you got from the family or borrowed, whatever it may be. You have to obtain the instrument, the tool that you're going to use to refine your goal, to reach your end results of being able to play the piano. Okay, so once you obtain that, number two thing you're probably going to do is you're going to have to educate yourself on how to go about this. So the key factor now have to play out to, well, where do I go? What can I afford? Or do I want to take private lessons? Do whatever the task may be to realize the next step. So once you're at the next step, that is the part that the focus now needs to start dialing in. It's complicated in some respect of that. To stay focused has many different components. Okay, so let's talk about the components of the focus. The number one is the physics of the focus intention. In other words, that you have to harness the intention. You have to bring your energy level, your focus into the intention of focus. Isn't that a loop? So you have to think about your focus to be focused. And how ironic is that? You have to teach yourself to do something that you're going to do, or you have to do something to make a definitive decision to stay focused. Now, while that sounds goofy or, oh, it's easy, it's actually the key to opening that door. Now, let me take that into a real life situation here. Let's say back to the piano aspect of it. I got the piano. I got a lesson plan with this local teacher. And now I'm going to take my weekly piano lesson. And I show up. Do I show up on time? Do I drag my butt in 5 minutes late? Do I have all my material? Do I have my piano book ready? Have I been prepping myself ready for this lesson? Or have I been distracted? Because truthfully, our life is complicated. We have stuff to do. If I'm a parent, I have kids to deal with. If I'm single, I have my own issues that I have to take care of. If I'm working for the man or working for someone else, then I have to make sure that's taken care of. So again, you can see there's a lot of chatter and clutter that goes into our lives on a constant basis. So the idea of the focus and harnessing the energy to stay in that zone, in that mindset, is harnessing the intention. And you have to make the decision for that. In other words, before I walk into the piano lesson, I have already to put my mind into the intention of playing this instrument. I have put my intention on active listening, not just hearing what the teacher may say, but active listening to absorb and take in the information. And that focus requires effort. And that effort is a choice. Again, you notice this is what the Creator has given us: freedom of free will. And when you have free will, it's very easy to take the decision-making component of ourselves and take the easy door, so there's less effort to obtain result. And the key thing is that the results by taking the less effort that you were searching for, that you want to achieve and strive to attain? If the answer is no, I fall short, then there's your clue right there. There's your path that is already telling you that you're not optimally using your focus and your harnessing of this energy. Now, while it's easy to say, okay, well, I will make the change. Then when you get to the moment of those decisions, you realize again, well, I still have so many things to do. I still have so many other things that I need to take care of. So therefore, all of a sudden, you notice the energy start to peel away. And it's going away from the focus, the physics of the focus intention. So now you're kind of scattered. And if you go into the lesson with that, chances are you're going to retain much less degree of information, much less degree of passion that ties into these intentions. So therefore, when you leave, it doesn't feel nearly as fulfilled or satisfied. And once in a while, that you get those effects, that's expected and it's okay because we're all humans. But if that becomes the norm, what do you think would happen? Ultimately, if you keep on repeating that lack of effort and lack of focus, you're going to kill the focus intention. And what that will do is kill your spark and your passion for wanting to play the piano in the first place. And ultimately, lastly, you leave it because it wasn't what you thought it was. Now, of course, what you thought it was, that is, you want to take lessons so you can play piano, you can play music. Maybe you were inspired by a record that you heard. Maybe there's something you wanted to do since you were a little kid, saw somebody play the piano. Whatever that spark of the inspiration that came, you have distinguished it or extinguished it. Sorry. Extinguished that spark due to lack of focus. So that shows you how important that the first step of the physics of the focus, how to harness your energy and collectively put it together and stay on top of it, opposed to letting little things pull pieces away from that energy. And when that happens, like I said, you start to not have so much invest into it because you're not all there. Now, let's say we get past that, and that's great. The key focus component is silencing the noise, the chatter, the clutter of the classical mess. And I always love to use that classical mess. That came from Bruce Lee's Tao of Jeet Kune Do, the classical mess. In other words, to be efficient on the level of intent from the point of A to B, there is only one direction. If you're staying true, laser focused. If you were taught or believe in or bought into that it needed to be this before it gets to there, once it gets there, it could do this and it opens up. And then ultimately, I select from this and this and this. And what you notice is you're not all in line laser. You're sprayed and spread out. So therefore, it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. Okay. So no different than if you were to take a glass of water and throw it at somebody, little at a time. Throw this, throw that. Opposed to take a hose, turning on full blast and shooting directly. That intention of that spray is now harnessed into a direction. So the clutter of the mind is probably one of our biggest enemies. I know that for a lot of people, it is hard to turn off the chatter. So I'm going to give you a couple of ways that is going to help you immensely to be able to reach a level of quieting the mind. Number one, breathing. 4-4 breathing. Yeah. Now, for those of you not sure what that is breathing in 4, holding in 4, and breathing out 4. try it again. For breathe in. Okay. Now, if you can't remember this and you want to dig for it, so forth, shoot me a comment or, contact me at 360 the 365method.com. I'll send you an audio file to your email. So that way you can practice this breathing. Now, of course, that's courtesy of heart space hypnosis. Now, let's talk about why do I recommend that breathing and how does that help? Number one, it stills the entire physical system when you start to go into a breathing rhythmic pattern. And that itself is extremely calming for you. This is the biggest entry, the key that opens the door to calming and stopping the clutter and the chatter and creating the silence. Now, the other aspect of how to do this on a top shelf level is using hypnosis. I personally have used hypnosis for myself because there's several things that came to mind when I was offered the opportunity. And of course, the opportunity came from heart space hypnosis. Kat is also my wife. Kat is also my co-host for the Miracles Online podcast. And she started to develop this direction of her career path several years ago. And, being the good husband that I am, I don't say much. I just go along, see the development, and I see how many people she has helped throughout the last few years. And I was really marveled at the success rate of what she could do, whether it's to be addictions, whether it's to be calming the chatters, whether it's to be finding the inner self, empowering. It's all about the mindset, silencing the noise, and then bringing the true intention into laser focus. And whenever you need it, your mind is now programmed to the level that you can create that moment and go return to the laser anytime you want. So my personal story is, of course, I was in competitive baseball the last few years and I'm still in it. And some of you heard this story, of course, that I was playing ball after 30-year layoff. And I came back. I wasn't doing very well. Then ultimately, through hard work with my buddy Brian and just tenacious in the practice, in the training, those type of things, that I got myself into a respectable baseball playing condition, and as well as my contribution to my team's success. But I, of course, want to be better. I want to strive to be the best that I can be and contribute, not some of the time, but every time that I had an opportunity. I wanted to be that consistent. Fortunately, Kat understood my goal, and she offered me a sports enhancement package. And what I use that package to do is to understand what I need to be mindset when I'm in a competition situation and how my clutter and chatters were put in place, meaning that it no longer is just randomly running around in my head and creating chaos when I needed focus. So the success came from me, number one, having my personal commitment and intention of focus to do the program correctly. Now, this is where a lot of people fails at doing something. They get excited, they do something, and then it start to trail off slowly but surely. Oh, I was doing it last week, like going to the gym, right? Beginning of the year, you sign up for the gym membership and you go in January. January is the most busiest packed time in any commercial gym. Just the way it is. I worked at one, so I know. And slowly by February and March, it started to tear off. And by summer, it's kind of evened out, but it was no longer the big difference in the level of people that was coming to the gym. And what happened is they lose the intention and the focus because they did not create the habit. They did not utilize their decision making power and stay firm on a decision on a daily basis. And I'll share this with you. Key to focus is making the decision on a regular basis. It is not a one time thing. I made a decision that I was going to do this 6 months ago. It didn't work. Why? Well, because you weren't making a decision every day of saying, today, I'm going to be better than yesterday on this particular task, this particular whatever thing that I was achieving and striving for. So therefore, 6 months goes by, of course it's going to erode and fall apart. You weren't caring for it. You weren't paying attention to it. So that to me is one of the essential ingredients that I continuously to refine on self, and I teach it. All the students I've had throughout the years that wanted to master the instrument and so forth, only a handful became that level players. Why? Because they got it. They understood that every day is my decision to be better than yesterday, opposed to, oh, I have a lesson next Tuesday. I can practice on Monday, so I go in Tuesday, not looking too bad. That's a decision, folks. That is a choice that you took. But is that the best decision that you can make? And of course, the answer is no. How could that be a good decision if you were able to neglect by making the first decision to not do anything about greatness and refinement until the 11th hour? That's just not a good decision if you want to be great. So this isn't just about playing music instrument. This is anything. And I've physically went out and trained to play baseball to the point I was able to compete with people on a high level that is an age group half of my age. Now, how old am I? I'm 61. I've had teammates that could be my son at 30 years old, at 20 years old before, so those kind of things you're kind of going, wow, that's a nice accomplishment to be able to take my level of intention and competition and wanting to reach a goal and then achieving that goal. But once I achieved it, what did I do? Did I celebrate? Did I call it a day? No, I kept at the focus and making the decision on refinement. And refinement doesn't always mean repetitions over and over and over. Yeah, even though that is repetition is mother of all skills, and I will say that over and over and over, it sometimes is more to is how do I polish this and buff here and maybe wipe here, or just constantly nuances and minor adjustments that continues to fuel the path of goodness and ultimately reaching greatness because of it. And to be able to assess that requires focus, requires no chatter, silence. So therefore, I am centered correctly when I'm doing these tasks. And there's no wasted time. One of the things that we have on this planet, I hope everybody really grasps this. It's not about wealth. It's not about, accolades. It's about how do you manage time? Because that is, as we're talking, it's going. As I'm saying this to you, it's going and it's gone and it's over. So if I don't come across and do this correctly, then all this is just moving by me with nothing attaches to the refinement aspect of it. Nothing is going to attach me to the end results and the goal that I'm striving for. So it's just passing me. So is that efficient? Is that the way that I want it to happen? And the answer would be no. because I'm not reaching to get the kind of results that I'm searching for. So understand time management is key. It's crucial in everything you do. If you're always late, you're poor at time management. You need to immediately make a decision on how to understand time management and how to incorporate into your life. Because if you're a time waster, this is something that you got no one to blame but yourself. If you're wasting time because, I worked hard, so therefore I don't want to do anything. Really? You work hard for someone else? If it's your own company, your own business, you're working 24/7, hey, I get it. But then you need to go talk to my buddy, Adam Weisner at Kingdom Mindset Strategy, because you should not be building your company, being great at something, and next you know, you build yourself a cage and you can't leave your success because you have to be there. What he is teaching and what he does in business consulting is the opposite. As your company grows, you then can let your hands off and come back and enjoy the reward that you've been working for. So that is another nugget of understanding of what can be versus, well, I just didn't know, or I have habits that I was taught to me when I was a kid. So therefore, I'm still forging away on a system that is 30 years old that has produced very small amount of results. Because ultimately, the big picture is when you go after something, are you getting it? If you're telling me 9 out of 10 things you're going after, you're not getting it, is it because of you? Is it because of the system? Is it because of lack of focus? What is it? You need to identify what is causing you not able to reach your destination. It's no different, like I said, driving the car. If you're driving, you got a GPS, you don't know where you're going. You're just going, I know I'm going west. Well, that's not going to help you. Are you going to California? Going to Oregon? What are you doing? The other aspect of it is, are you fueled up? Are you ready? Because ultimately, on that aspect of it, you're driving, you focused, and you're going there. Oh, you run out of gas in Arizona because you weren't paying attention. Now you're really screwed. You can't go anywhere. You got no gas, So always remember the little things that you are refining. This is where the focus is key. Once you silence the noise, you're able to see things much more clear with much more integrity in front of you that you can then refine and say, hey, this needs attention. That could be done right here, right now. Let's do this. You can prioritize and time manage more efficiently. And that to me is one, if not the engine that drives success. Now, let's go to the next level. The precision of the mind. Did you like that? The precision, to be on top of it, to be so diligently focused that is refined to precise intent moment. Now, how do you align the precision? Number one is mastering the emotion. And I know this is something that most humans have big issues, including myself. I am a full human, I believe. I am not a hybrid of any kind. I just so happen to understand the potential of the human behavior and the human dynamics. And I am able to train my level up to a success that I constantly refine. And with understanding these steps that took me there, the one thing that I will say about emotions is that you have to harness this level of energy. And by doing that, it's going to help you tremendously not let the horses run out of the barn. And let me take this a little bit further in this direction. If you have uncontrollable urges and you blow up into yelling, screaming, depression, negativity, melancholy, anything that causes the breakdown of the decision making process, anything that breaks down the intention and the motion of application, doing it, then you have to recognize that you're letting an emotional charged energy dominate the logistics and the thought, and of course, the goals you set to achieve your end result. All this is all of a sudden sidelined and thrown to the benches, if you will, aside. So this big Mack truck of emotions, like a tidal wave, is going to just envelop and run its course. And it makes you feel alive. You're alive because you can feel. I'm going to say this is a false sense of living. And I'll go deeper. When I say false sense, I don't discredit your emotion. When I say false senses, you're letting an intention of emotion, an energy of perspective to run your life. Now, this energy of perspective could be coming from many different ways. Number one, conditioning as a child. What did you do? You had abusive family, therefore it causes you to believe and behave a certain way. Every one of us has many different components that start to lock ourselves in. Mine was abandonment issues. I had abandonment issues when I was a little kid. And I didn't really recognize that until I got into the workshop at age 29 in California. Once I realized that, oh my goodness, it just broke everything open, and it helped me tremendously to, number one, heal the hurt that I was feeling. So therefore, that emotional avalanche that I always get and the things that I was so protective of no longer had to be there anymore. And why is that? Because I understood it. Because I realized that I was not being abandoned. It was my perception of being abandoned. Was I left? Yeah, I was left. My mom left me to go to a different country, and I was left to live with my grandparents. And then when my mother moved me to America, my grandparents then left me, the only nurturing family members that I trusted, sent me across the world. So therefore, the perception of not being wanted in two different locations throughout my early years development as a child caused tremendous mental anguish in the way I perceived it. Now, a child, of course, is never going to recognize this. So therefore, it took me as an adult of really questioning, why am I constantly reaching a level of success and then failing at the peak of that success? Because I was focused to be great at what? To be in the entertainment business, to play the electric guitar, to be a great performer to the audience, to generate the excitement to be able to sell products and then create a career. And while I was doing that successfully, I could never break through the ceiling of it, which means the amount of wealth, the amount of work, and the amount of satisfaction that I can actually call it a career, opposed to having to take other jobs so I can keep on feeding this goal of this particular career building. And for all of us who has somehow broke through the perception barrier, I applaud you, because that took a lot of work. It took, I think, desperation in a lot of us to be able to break that clutter, to break that barrier, to understand that perception is only a perception. It's our way of seeing life. But is that how life is? And the answer is no, not really. So by understanding that the precision of the mind and understanding the controlling of the emotional overtaking is another key that opens the door. And I would say there's many different ways of doing this. You could do hypnotherapy. That would help definitely, because a lot of stuff that we're reaching that causes us to fail is rooted in our childhood. And if we can understand and be able to let that out, it's literally like letting out your inner self, the innocent child, out of the basement. And when I say that, the ones that's ever had that experience understand it fully. The ones that never had that experience thinks that, no, that's just BS. It doesn't exist. And it does. I know because I've seen it, not just with me, but with a lot of people that we all went to the workshop. And this workshop was continuous every weekend for many years. And then on a Tuesday, you would hear success stories, so-called quote unquote graduation of this. And I just heard so many stories of people changing their lives by understanding what caused them to be that way with their perception. So I hope you get something with that, understanding that emotion is not your friend when it comes to focus. Emotion is something you need to be able to harness, control, and understand. I never said stifle, ignore, or put away. So know that. The next level of focus is the flow state, the ability to become constant and move with it. In other words, when you're practicing or you're doing a task and you're laser in, you have to honor that energy and flow and be with it, be one with it. Literally, like for instance, when you're going to a symphony concert, you're paying attention. You're going to be lost in the music. This is not amplified stuff. This is all stuff with frequencies and energy that's coming from these instruments in real time, not microphone, not PA systems, but real live energy coming at you. And you will find yourself getting drawn to it. This connection is the flow. And you can do this with the universe. You can actually focus yourself intently so well that you can feel all the energy around you start to envelop you. Now, don't sit and stagnate. Take that and flow and move with it. Meditation is really great to help you understand this. I can't stress enough on just how much meditation has helped me, and the people that I've networked with or have talked with that who uses meditation on a regular basis have benefited and have felt better than ever, calmer, and reach more deeper in regards to the success they're searching for. So there's so many ways that can kind of fit that of how do you meditate? How do you get an energy flowing going to it? You have to find a way that works with you best. Not necessarily have to be my way or anybody else's way. But I will say that to start, let's just get yourself a frequency like 432 hertz. Get that playing, going into a constant drone, like that. And close your eyes, lay down, or sit down in the lotus position, or sit in a chair. Whatever you're going to do. What you're wanting to do is start to still yourself and calm yourself. You're not going to start daydreaming about, what I had for dinner yesterday. What I'm going to do next week at the meeting. Or, you need to start to take those things and just peel those away and throw them away. Because what you're searching for is just the center self moment. And that center self moment sometimes is nothing, darkness. And what's interesting about it is the more you do it, the more it gets there quicker, and then it opens up. And then you realize what you're opening up. It's much grander, much more plentiful and robust than you could ever imagine. Pretty soon it gets to the point that you're looking forward to these sessions, these moments that you can go away from the clatter, the chatter, and the junk all around us in the matrix. Focus. These are all things are part of focus. So this is our topic, mastery of focus. All right, so let's regroup. Let's look at this, the physics of understanding, harnessing the attention of the focus, silencing the noise, the clutter and the chatter. How do you centralize yourself and put yourself in a stillness? Precision. How do you bring precision in the mind? By not letting emotionally overcharged energy overtake you. And then the float state, how to harness this energy within with you with going into a constant motion with it, opposed to sitting and just stilling like this and not reaching anything past them within yourself, which is just like, you can go outside. Now you can go outside and be sitting inside just in your front yard, or you can go outside and go all the way to the beach, go all the way to the mountain. It's your choice. That's the flow of it. Now, this is the next one. It's going to be a little bit different. And this is something that is uniquely you. It's the sacred attention. And the key moment here about the sacred attention is, who are you? Who do you resonate? Are you a Christian? Are you a Buddhist? Are you ... What do you have that you feel that there is this distinctive connection that rings true to you? A lot of people, when they say, hey, my last life, I was a Viking. Well, if you feel very at home with this, there's nothing that stops you from doing a Viking ritual to center yourself. Now, hypothetically, of course, right? Because this is, everybody's different. I am a 5D shaman. What is 5D shaman? Well, fifth density is different than third density. The third density is where we're coming at currently in this planet. Everything is done in a materialistic, egocentric, and driven way. The fifth density is much more, I would say, simple in sense of letting go of the ego, letting go of the energy of the empowerment within self to control. Now, the shaman aspect, the shamanism, if folks are not really understanding, are not familiar with the term of shamanism, this isn't just the witch doctor or the Indian guru or anything like that. It's beyond that. It is the individual that have enough life experience to be able to oversee on many different principles to the greater goods of the village or the clan. And I am the 5D shaman that reaches out as much as I can, because I understand now my path here. It's not to be a rock star, even though that would have been fun, which I really did have a lot of great time. And, as much as I may say, hey, I didn't have a career path, I had a career path and it did make money. It just didn't make me filthy rich, which then I'd go on the dark side, which, God bless, it didn't happen on that level. The key factor on sacred attention is, like, for instance, that if I have a belief that's driven by Wiccan, and I believe that spells can be part of life, then don't ignore that. That is not for someone else to say that is not the right way. Only you uniquely know what your right way is. This is why I bring this up. The sacred attention is different for so many directions that if you can resonate and focus and let that to become your mantra or your focus to help you to go directional into the intention of your goal, then this should be your assistance, your partner, your machine that you're building. This is a component of it. In sense of religion, a lot of people use religion for this purpose. And, a lot of Christians have done great things in life. And Sundays, they're in church. Every day, they're reading their Bible. They're driven by this. And that's great, because that is the key of what it serves for the focus. So I hope you are understanding that I am not telling you to pick anything to do it. You have to find it through yourself in the way it resonates. And that, to me, is the difference between falling short in going over and scoring the touchdown, because you are now true to yourself opposed to emulating something you saw. Self-observation is the next one. In other words, to be able to reflect upon everything that I've said up to this point and being able to reflect upon yourself. In other words, don't kid yourself. Don't think that, oh, I can be successful if I do this, which is things that not serving you, but serving the materialistic self of outside. For instance, I want to be a multimillionaire, so I go buy or at this point, I go lease a expensive sports car so I can create the image to the others of how successful I am. And I see this when I was in Los Angeles and Hollywood. There's a lot of people that drive in a lot of expensive cars and so forth that can't really afford it. And the idea behind it was to send out an impression, an image, to bring that jealousy, the desire to others to you. If basically you're paper tiger, it's not worth its weight in salt. There's nothing of substance. So self-observation is big in the sense of how you respond of your personal thoughts and your awareness to them project. And you have to be dialed in to the truth on yourself. And sometimes it's the hardest part is dialing in and recognizing that you fall short. And how do you not beat yourself over with? I was not so good when I was a kid. So now I steal, now I cheat, and I'm not proud of it, but that's who I am. Well, no, that's not who you are. That's what you chose to do with what you had to condition you, to train you to use a certain path, a certain system. And you're then consciously making decisions using that path and that system to create whatever reality results that you're looking for or you're wanting. And these results may be these little short-term, not so good endings. But that's all you know. That's what you have told yourself. This is key of self-observation. You are the key to be able to break that. If you don't want to be where you're at, you have to break that. You have to take the risk of making that decision and break that. And I will close on this. The lastly of mastery of focus. It's about creation. It's about you. Now, I know there's a lot of point of views, especially coming from a religious point of view of that we serve the God, the creator, whatever it may be. So therefore you are not God. You're a servant, you're a steward, you're whatever that system has taught you to be. If you're buying into that, figure out how you can work with it. But you can't be capped under it. Because if you're capped under it, then you're only going to go as high as whatever the cap is. And if that cap is low, then you're really not going to get past that. Is that serving you? Well, I'm here to serve God. I'm not here to serve me. If you chose that route, that's great. That's your route. Then stay focused on that route. And if you're really good at it, that's all you do the rest of your life, then obviously your focus is pretty darn good on it. So the mastery of focus is constantly refine that thing. For others who just want more, well, then identify what is your more, because that is your creation. That is what you need to focus and put your intentions to. Now, the master of the intention to get to creation is what becomes the master of reality. This is where every day you live and breathe to what you become. I'll give you my personal example. I have frequency therapy running on a constant in my house. What does that mean? That means that I have a tonal frequency, whether it be singing bowls, whether it's be eternal ohms, whether it's to be just a frequency of droning. I am bringing in harmonizing energy frequency to align my living space, to align my living self, to focus my intention mind, and to create a nice flow. Now, a lot of people goes, well, I do that. That put on Iron Maiden and off I go and we're listening and we're working. And yeah, that's different. That is, to me, a lower level of creating and obtaining and doing a task. It doesn't ultimately go up to the top shelf level of anything that I want on the level of success I can obtain. Because you really can on lower frequency applications, especially like secular music, that is the dark stuff being hard rock, heavy metal. And it's so funny that I'm saying this, right? Because for many decades, I was a hard rock, heavy metal guitarist. And I've found that as soon as I left that life, my world became 1,000 times grander, more enriched, more robust, and definitely more positive. Do you like drama in your life? Do you like people stabbing you in the back? Do you like people who constantly manipulate? Because if you don't like any of those things, you need to look at how do you harmonize your environment and within yourself. And if you can do that effectively, the other things go away. Now, does that mean that I don't listen to any of that music anymore? Yeah, probably very little. In other words, I don't have on my playlist Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Metallica. I just don't have that anymore. And do I discredit those work? No, they've done some really nice stuff. If we were to break it down in theory, in sense of applications of how the composition came about, how the execution of the playing, so forth, yeah, of course, they're good stuff. But the energy, what it's telling you and what it does for you, I'm not so good on that because I don't really need and want negativity, downside. I'm not struggling. I don't have angst. I'm not teenager, need to leave the house and assert my own independence. I'm just not in that headspace and I'm not that age. So therefore it does not have attraction. But for someone my age who is continuously doing the same thing that's been going on for the last 40, 50 years, are you happy? Or are you satisfied and fulfilled with everything you're doing? Because if you are, great, fantastic. If you're not, then start to understand why. This is where the focus, your creation, needs to be understood fully. What are you taking as ingredients and putting into this pot of melting whatever that you're creating? And what is it giving back to you? Is it the ultimate stew? Or is it the biggest group ground up mush that you just didn't know what it is and why is it and how did it be here? And I don't want nothing to do with it. So the great of the great, the worst of the worst, it all comes from the creation, from you. So to wrap this up, I wish all of you to reach the level of success and greatness that you have seen in your mind, that you have the feel from within yourself, in your heart, and to want to achieve these goals, these dreams, and effectively do it where it gives you beyond expectation results. You know, over promise and under deliver is never good. Under promise and over deliver, it's always the way. And this isn't just in the third density matrix sales world. This is in all of our existence in the universe. So if you can offer that to yourself, why would you not take it? Why would you even hesitate to do that? To bring the greatest opportunities and then watch it flower into the greatest event of your life. So I hope you find this episode not only inspiring, but resourceful. And I hope that you'll come back and share your comments. Of course, what I would like for you to do is hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And what I would like for all of you to do is to make someone's life better by making yourself better. And that, if every one of us did that, I think we will see a great, great future for humanity and for everyone involved as we on this journey of going up these steps. And every step we go and reach for a higher greatness, that we enjoy every moment of it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And this will replay on redpills.tv on Sunday. And I will see you on the next 13th Note, Art of Mastery.